Good to have you with us for the Cheltenham Festival videocast. Looking forward to the main meeting in the year around the globe for National Hunt fans. We all love it. Why do we love it? Because the best horses from the UK and Ireland come to do combat in a battle over hurdles, over fences, and indeed on the flat as well. And to join me to try and sort the wheat from the chaff, on my far left, we have Mr. Andy Newton, king of all things that are trends, although that doesn't include, obviously, the clothes he wears. And next to me is the young bumpkin, I call him, who goes left of centre a lot of time. We don't know whether that applies to his political views as well, but it does to his racing views. It's JJ. Jake Johns is on board. So we have a wealth of talent here to guide you through, coming up to the end of January, what we think are going to be the main players in the Cheltenham Festival. We will update, of course, this videocast close to the time, probably around about the end of February. Now, this is the first of two videocasts we're passing on to you. For the purposes of this one, we're going to have a look at the 4 championship races, the Champion Hurdle, the Queen Mother Champion Chase, the World Hurdle, and the Gold Cup. We will, in fact, preview the Ryanair Chase in the second of the videocast, and then have any other business where we look at all the other novice hurdle and novice chases as well. Gentlemen, let's start. Let's begin at the very beginning. On Tuesday, the Champion Hurdle, as Fahim tries to retain his crown. He's very short in the market, Andy. What do the trends tell us about the Champion Hurdle?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, he's around 4 to 7 currently. We're about 2 weeks into January now. We can't really see that price changing much before the day. I mean, the last back-to-back winner, Hardy Eustace in 04-05. Isterbrack obviously has won it many times as well before. But yeah, I mean, it's all about Fahim the machine really. He had one little blip this season, hasn't he, when Nichols Canyon beat him. But the Irish and Nicky Henderson have won this race 13 times out of the last 17 between them. So everything points to this horse going in again for me. And I can't really see anything. I think it's a fairly sort of weak contest behind Fahim. There's not much strength in depth for me, and I think that this is another sort of shoe-in for the doubles and trebles players out there. JJ,
you're famed for going for value.
Yeah.
And value is the name of the game when it comes to horse racing, but more so with the Cheltenham Festival. Andy has said this is a race with little strength and depth, which I think we all agree with.
Yeah.
And we know now that Fahim, when he was beaten by Nichols Canyon, was only 75% fit.
Yeah.
And that, of course, changed when he went to the Christmas Hurdle at Kempton.
Yeah.
Barring any kind of mistakes around the 8 hurdles, can you see him being beaten?
I can see him being beaten. I can very much see him being beaten.
Loving it.
Come on. I know he's at 75% fitness, but I think they thought he was going to win that day anyway. I think when he gets pressure put on him, his jumping gets put under pressure. The Champion Hurdle last year was an absolute joke. I mean, he dictated it. They let him dictate. It was ridiculous. He just sprinted off at the end, made it a sprint at the end. Arctic Fires were into place that day. He obviously blew up over 3 miles recently, but I just think back over 2 miles on good ground, he'll be much better placed this year. I think he could easily beat Fahim, especially if he's taken on for the lead by Nichols Canyon. I think there'll be a stronger pace this year, and I can imagine Arctic Fire coming late in the race. So 10 to 1 each way for me is a nice little wager.
Okay, and we could easily see, couldn't we, the 3 Mullins horses coming down towards the last, all with a chance.
Yeah.
But I think you made a really good point there. I think everybody should think about this, especially for those of you who like to bet in running on the exchanges, that if Fahim is given an easy lead out in front again, there's only going to be one result.
No doubt.
But we can't read into the mind of Willie Mullins. What's he going to say to Paul Townend if he's on Nichols Canyon? Is he going to say to him, jostle Fahim for the lead? He would almost start shooting himself in the foot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, of the others, further down the betting, I agree with JJ. I mean, Arctic Fire, he's proven in this race. It was running over far too long a trip last time in desperate ground.
That was horrible ground.
Horrible ground. So clearly didn't stay there, and that it does look a bit of an each way bet to nothing. I hate that saying, and I hate those. The people that often mention that, but it does look like it's going to be in the first 3.
I think the front 3 of the market, they'll be the front 3 almost definitely.
I mean, potentially Forgotten Horse, Peace and Co. I mean, Triumph Hurdle winners. generally have a quite a decent record in the Champion Hurdle, you know, in following seasons. And you know, yes, it ran a stinker, didn't it, at Cheltenham last time? But you know, I think it's sort of fairly safe to say that that run was too bad to be true.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
You know, looking at the betting now, what is it, around sort of 12, 14 to 1, you know, could surprise us, you know, going back to the Henderson stat as well, you know, Henderson and the Irish have won 13 of the last 17 run-ins. There could be some value in Peace and Co as well, I think.
Yeah. Okay, here's the interesting point. If you're basing your bets purely on maths, and you have a bet win on Faheen, and you have an each-way bet on Arctic Fire, and Arctic Fire is just placed and doesn't win, your profit will be bigger on Arctic Fire. So you don't necessarily have to get the winner of the Champion Hurdle to make a profit. And that's the key to betting when you're coming to these big festivals like Cheltenham.
You know, I think the other thing, just sorry to butt in as well, Paul. I mean, you know, come the day, I mean, it's a fairly obvious thing to say, but like what happened last year, you know, depending on what happens in the first, you know, the Supreme Novices, the first race, and the Arkle as well. You know, this could literally just go like mental price, couldn't it?
Yeah,
it could
go 2 to 5,
2 to 5, 1 to 3.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You know, if everyone's going to be on the trebles and accumulators again, you know, with the Mullins horses on day one. So you know, something else to bear in mind as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, don't forget, of course, we have the new Cheltenham app. It's up and running. If you haven't used it, go on, have a look at it. It's brilliant. On the go. You can use it wherever you are. Keeps you up to date with everything. Prices, tips, trends, cappuccino, latte, whatever you want. It's on the Cheltenham app, the new Cheltenham app here at Easy Odds. Okay, we've sorted out the Champion Hurdle. We know where the value lies.
Yeah.
Now, one of the most intriguing races of the week is the Queen Mother Champion Chase, which for many years, through the 80s and the 90s and even into this century, gave us back-to-back winners, 2-time winners, 3-time winners. That's not the case nowadays. And let's have a look at the top of the market here, JJ, because Undersow is the favourite. He's the sexy horse in the race, you know.
Yeah.
He's thrilling to watch. But if you were betting for a profit and he goes off like Will-o'-the-Wisp over the first two fences, and let's put this straight, the field behind him isn't brilliant. There has been, they've seen better days. This is factored on one thing and one thing alone, Undersow putting in a clear round.
Yeah, I think if Undersow puts in a clear round, he wins. He's probably most likely winner of the race. Bit too short at 13 to 8 at the moment. Everyone's telling me he races too exuberantly, he's going to blow up eventually, something's badly's going to happen. But he's won every run that he's finished. Well, obviously, you can't count on that he's going to fall, but I mean, I think if he makes it round, he'll win. I think the field is pretty poor. I mean, obviously, Sprinter Sapra's improved, he's retainability, and he's shown he's a bit of a battler as well against Side Abruzzi. I think Side Abruzzi has absolutely no chance. He would have lost in the Tingle Creek had he not knocked Special Tiara sideways. But I think Undersow is definitely the most talented horse in the race and will take some beating.
The big thing I think when we're looking at Cheltenham, boys, and a lot of people tend to overlook this, is that Cheltenham is a spring meeting. Horses at that time of the year, they flourish. Horses who have a good record around Cheltenham, they flourish. And we know Undersow has jumped round there, even though Ruby said last time out when he fell he was just totally guessing at his fences. But spring ground, if we get it this time, which we don't normally get at every Cheltenham Festival, I mean, Gold Cup Day was a nightmare, it was terribly horrible deep ground. But if we get spring ground, I mean, I put up God's Own, as you know, last year, and I know you like the horse if we do get good ground, merely to get a place possibly. But again, if he's 33 to 1, and you can get a quarter of the odds of place, you're talking about a 7 to 1 winner.
100%. That's God's Own is definitely my outside in a race. 33 to 1's a brilliant price. He clearly doesn't go on soft ground.
Hates it.
He's been completely held on to by Tom George. He's not going to run him in the soft ground ever again, I don't think. And as long as he gets spring round, I can definitely see him placing 100%. It could be same result as the Arkle last year. Undersow first, God's Own second, and so you know we've seen him fall a few times. He falls, and God's Own could be there to pick up the pieces.
Almost a free bet to win, almost. And what was interesting about the Arkle last year, Andy, that God's Own wasn't ridden to win. He was creepy, closer throughout. And if Undersow does fall, obviously he's got a chance. But if they adopt the same tactics again, you'd fancy he's going to be placed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely, and I agree with you guys. I mean, I think looking at the betting here, he's around 25 to 1. That might get bigger. We'll see. I mean, if Underso hadn't fallen those, what's he fallen twice now, isn't he, in his 6 runs, he'd probably be odds on, wouldn't he? I think that's the slight sort of doubt that, the layers are sort of clinging onto there, that, they might get this one beaten here. But, if you like your trends, I mean, Mullins, he's never won this race.
No, I know.
Out of the 4 championship races, I mean, he's only won the champion hurdle. So
It's crazy,
people, it is mental really, but it's some people might cling on to that. Other sort of key races to look out for: the Clarence House Chase, which at the time of recording hasn't actually run yet. It's going to be running this coming weekend at Ascot. But the last 3 winners of that have come out and won the champion chase that same season. So it's worth bearing in mind the winner of that. We don't know at this stage whether Underso is going to run at Ascot on Saturday. It's a bit iffy, but
Sprinter Sacra's definitely out.
Sprinter Sacra's out, is it? Right, and then obviously Side de Grugy is going to be going there. But whereas we're talking about quick ground, good ground for God's own, in contrast to that, I mean, Side de Grugy will be one of the softer the better, won't it?
But Side de Grugy cannot win another Queen Mother on good ground.
No. I mean, Gary Moore sort of, he made it clear, didn't he, last year that he was, unhappy with the ground situation there with regards to his horse. I saw a recent interview with him at the yard, and he was just saying, he's probably the only one that's going to be sort of cheering on for rain at Cheltenham. But if it does, 8 to 1 might be worth a little each way squeak.
What about Sprinter Sacra? We haven't mentioned him.
Yeah.
Where does he stand, in your opinion, in the hierarchy of 2-mile champion chases? Now, in a race where there are a lot of ifs and buts, aren't there?
Yeah. I think obviously he's best round Cheltenham, so that he's got that in hand. So he'll definitely improve for his run last time against Side Rouge. I just don't know if he'll be able to keep up with Underso. I mean, he can't. I don't think he can run too far off the pace. He can't. He won't be able to battle past Underso. So you have to utilise his cruising speed somehow. But I just don't think he's the horse he was. I mean, he's definitely improved from last year, but I don't think he'll ever get back to what it was like before the wind problems and heart problems and stuff. So
I think he looked like he had a hard race, didn't he, last time?
Yeah.
The tussle with Side.
Which is why he's going to the festival fresh and missing Ascot.
Yeah, but we'll have to see how much that has taken out of it, if anything. We don't know. I think I agree with JJ. Probably seeing the best of him. I think it would be great if he can win again. Everyone loves the champions coming out again and all that. But it's a shame he had that injury and he was out for a year or two. And I think he probably could have mopped up a few of these in that time. But it looks as if it has taken its toll, I think personally. And maybe they might retire it after. We'll see if he doesn't sparkle. If he finishes in the first 3, then we'll have to see what happens.
It'll be brilliant if he does win. Yeah. I think it will be probably the highlight of the festival if he wins.
That's interesting, though. What we have to remember, of course, is when he was at his peak, Sprinter Sacra was one of the greatest horses ever to grace the National Hunt game in this country. And even at his current market, his current level, he's still a very high-class chaser. But we're all agreed if Underso puts in a clear round, this flamboyant jumping is going to be very hard to beat. We're both in agreement here. We fancy a little bit of God's own if we get genuinely good ground each way.
Yeah,
and of course, we haven't mentioned last year's winner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dodging bullets, obviously.
Do you want to? I mean, even if he runs to that form, even if he runs 3 or 4, 5 pound above the form from last year, which everybody's agreed was a pretty average Queen Mother champion chase, and Underso runs to his best. Can he hold a torch to Underso?
I don't think so, but I think just sort of out of I suppose courtesy really to the horse. He's the reigning champ.
Yeah.
Yes, we haven't seen him this season as of yet. Nichols loves winning this race, doesn't he? So who knows? I mean, to me, the horse. I was surprised last year that he won it. It wasn't for me at all.
Yeah.
I thought he wasn't a true stayer, especially with the Cheltenham Hill. But yeah, proved me wrong. And but yeah, he's the champion. He's 8 to 1 each way. Some people will definitely snap that up, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So champion hurdle has been done. Champion chase has been done. As we move on to the Thursday, we'll have a look at the Ryanair chase in our second video cast, which you'll be able to view shortly, also online. But we're going to, for the purposes of this output, talk about the World Hurdle. And there's a new kid on the block. There's a new star in Thistlecrack who's really come to the for this season. He was very weak as a novice last year. It was pretty useful. But JJ, he's taken his game to a new level this season.
Yeah, absolutely taken it to a new level. I tipped him up at Newbury because he actually ran pretty well last year, and any horse that even was competitive with Colin Tizard last year, I thought it's probably going to be a pretty good horse because he was having an absolutely terrible year last year. So yeah, he's been completely dominant in all of the races he's running so far this year, over 3 miles. But the worry I have with him is I don't know if he's going to like Cheltenham. He lost here by a long way last year in January, in between 2 good runs as well. So some horses just don't like Cheltenham. It also depends on stable form, I think, quite a lot because Colin Tizard is so hot and cold. He could go on a ridiculous run rate. He's had some 40% straight away, and I think at the moment he's not doing very well at all. Even at the start of the year, he's doing well. So there's a few things that it depends on. But I think 9-4 is about right, just because he's been so dominant this year.
I mean, he looked a completely different horse this year. I mean, obviously the race fell into his lap at Newbury, but Ascot was the real trial for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And the way he travelled through the race,
yeah, very impressive.
Was fantastic, wasn't it? And he looked the real Rolls Royce,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm going for. Well, I've been trying to figure out which race Vroom Vroom Mag is going to run in. It's really hard to kind of get a thought on all the millions of Mullins horses that could be running in a different race. I mean, it looks like Annie Power's going to be fit for the Mares Hurdle. It looks like Vortors might go to the Ryanair. His price is shortening all the time, so I think he's probably going to go for the Ryanair. So I think she might go for the World Hurdle. And she's been so impressive in Ireland so far. She's not had the best opposition, but she's absolutely destroyed everything that's been put in front of her. She was in a hurdle race last time, dominated that, just did what she needed to do. She beat a horse called Miss Dynamic by Gordon Elliott, which is quite highly thought of, by 7.5 lengths, that went on to win next time. So it's not like terrible form. I mean, she hasn't just been running in rubbishy hurdles or rubbishy, chases. So I just think 10-1 is a good price. Obviously, she has to run in it, but
if you go with the bookmaker that's going non-run and no bet,
yeah, exactly. A lot of bookmakers doing non-run and bet. I know Sky Bet is. I think Betfair, Sportsbooker, Paddy Power. So you're not really losing anything. And if she does run, she'll be shorter than 10-1.
It is 9-4 Thistlecrack, Andy, and it's 8-1 bar, which brings in last year's winner Cole Harden, a horse who we know ground is very, very important to him, and almost you can write off this runs this season. Basically, the trainer wanted to get runs into him to get him match fit, but he's a different horse on good ground. But he's had another breathing operation since last year. Are you worried he's not the horse he was last year?
Well, it doesn't look like he is, does he, at the moment? But I mean, like you say, the ground is a key factor. He'll boot out from the front again and see if he can hold on. Around 7-1. Do you think that's value at the moment? I'd probably want a little bit bigger than that, if I was honest. I know he's the current champ. But for me, Thistlecrack, I mean, he's actually going to be one of my bankers of the meeting, I think. I think at the moment, that again, a little bit like the Champion Hurdle, doesn't look to be a great deal sort of in behind that has sort of shown anything this season for me.
No, you're right.
So yeah, there might be some each way value down there if you could pick something out. I mean, the new one, possibly, if it comes to this race rather than the Champion Hurdle, which I think it possibly will, I think there's a good chance it will stay. Wasn't beaten that far behind for him, was it, in the Christmas Hurdle, last in December. So, at around sort of 16-1, I think the new one, proven at Cheltenham, as we all know, could be some sort of value against Thistlecrack. But I think...
What about the trends, Andy? What are we looking at here?
Well, again, it's quite a good race for the favourite, but I mean, obviously, big bucks. Sort of blowing the trends out of the water a little bit, winning it so many times. But yeah, I mean, 14 of the last 15 winners have come from the first 4 in the betting.
Okay.
So, it's been a race that the bookmakers have hated, really. And I think it was probably Cole Harden last year, which was the only one that hasn't. It was about 14-1, wasn't he? So, so barring Cole Harden, going back sort of 15 runnings or so, the winners come from, someone that's in the top 4 in the betting.
Yeah.
Obviously the Cleve Hurdle, the Long Walk Hurdle, both good trials for this. Thistlecrack obviously won the Long Walk. Cleve Hurdle, we haven't yet seen the winner of that, but that's going to be on the trials meeting on the 30th. So Thistlecrack will obviously probably be going there. So if that wins that, that's going to further enhance his chances, isn't it?
I think if Thistlecrack wins that, then I don't see anything being it, to be honest.
And you think his price will obviously shorten?
Yeah, definitely. definitely.
I need to trade in because I backed Thistlecrack at 10s for the World Hurdle.
Oh, nice.
But I've got a horse at Infinity to run because he's not even quoted in the list, but I know he's definitely going to run. He was a pretty good juvenile hurdle trained by Alan King called Karazak, who ran well for a long way in the long distance hurdle at Ascot. In fact, coming between the second and the third last, he was going better than anything in the race, including Thistlecrack, and they just needed the run. He's got a good record at Cheltenham, but he needs better ground. If he gets his spring ground, I think he'll run a big race. And I rang up one of my bookmakers, of the 37 accounts I've got, I rang up this Canadian bookmaker and I said, can you quote me Karazak for the World Hurdle? And he said, well, he's not here in the list. He goes, I've looked even on the exchanges and he's not there. So I said, will you give me 999 to 1? So he gave me 1,000 to 1. So I've had a tenner each way on Karazak. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win, but if he's placed, that's all I want to pay my tax for that half of the year. And I think you guys are right. I think behind the first two in the market, or even behind the favourite, it's up for grabs for a horse at a big price to be placed, you know. And the other thing that's quite interesting is Thistlecrack's best form has all come with plenty of give in the ground. He has won on good ground, but his best figures, his best returns have come on soft ground. So but he does look a very, very good horse, doesn't he? Okay, that's the World Hurdle. Let's move on to the feature race of the meeting. Of course, it is the Cheltenham Gold Cup on the Friday, the Blue Ribbon. It's just the most sensational race. The build-up is exciting. During the race is fantastic. There's not a better commentator for me than Simon Holt when he goes through the race and he's building up. And so many great horses down through the years. So however old you are, listening to this Easy Odds video cast, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or even older than that, so many sensational winners down through the years. And this year, Andy, we can safely say, better than the last 2, 3 or 4 years, since of course Courto Star retired, this is the best Gold Cup for 3 or 4 years. Strength and depth wise, there's so many good horses likely to take part.
Yeah, I mean obviously, the one sort of blip on what you've just said there is, we might not have the current champ running. Koenig Gree. I mean, I know I was reading the other day that he's making good progress, and they reckon he might be out sort of exercising, galloping in a couple of weeks. But it's probably unlikely, isn't it, that he's going to line up here to defend his title. I think if he was running, it'd be literally a sort of mouth-watering race to look forward to, wouldn't it? With so many good sort of chances. A great race for the bookmakers. At the moment they're going 7-2 the field, aren't they? But there's there's a whole host of them in behind that. Don Cossack, Don Poli, Q Cards obviously going for that £1 million bonus if he wins this after the Betfair Chase and the King George. But there's one big stat though, Paul, against Q Card, the 10-year-old, the last 10-year-old to win it, Couldawn, 1998. Yeah. So generally does go to someone. One of the horses that are around sort of 7 to 9, there's a sort of age bracket you want to look at. Obviously the favourite, Jackadam, is 7-year-old, last 7-year-old to win Courto Star, but we've seen plenty of good 7-year-olds, Kicking King, Best Mate, War of Attrition, all decent 7-year-olds to win it. So that's just a couple of things to take out. But the other big thing, we've mentioned it before, Mullins, never won
a Gold Cup,
He's had a second the last 3 years, hasn't he? So, the second last year, wasn't he? Then he had it on his own the year before that, Sir de Champs. So he's been knocking at the door, but a lot of people think he's got a great chance this year, isn't he? So we'll see,
Okay, down through the years there's been some great love stories, hasn't he? Romeo Juliet, John Lennon, Yoko Ono, Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, and then there's Jake Johns and Cossack, the Cossack horse. I mean, you absolutely adore this horse, don't you?
I think it's by far the best horse in the race.
By far.
I think he's the most latent talent-wise.
I think talent-wise. I mean, people were going on about that Vautour win last year in the JLT. I don't think it was anywhere near as impressive as Don Cossack in the Punchestown Gold Cup, where he destroyed the Jackadam and Road to Riches 2nd and 3rd.
And then Aintree after that as well.
The Melling Chase won BQ by 26 lengths. 6 to 1 is a brilliant price. I mean, if people are not liking his most recent one after his fall in the King George, where he would have won, I think, as well. Everything went wrong for him in the King George. He's got hustled out of his position by Q Card. He was on and off the bridle, he raced lazily, he didn't jump brilliantly, and he still probably would have won, even though he fell. He has Cheltenham before. I mean, he hasn't won over Cheltenham, people are worried about that. I mean, I think he would have won last year, but if he didn't make that blunder at the last, was it the last? Well,
he got his jockey got into all kinds of trouble, didn't he, where he was placing it.
I just think he's the most talented horse in the race. There's the thing of trying cheap pieces on him. I don't think it really matters that much, but I think that might help settle him down. Yeah, and 6-1 is an unbelievable price as well. So
Have you gone in again?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah.
Will you retire if he wins, Don Cossack?
Yeah.
And he's only 18, so he must be having a lot of money on the... But in all seriousness, there's two other things about Don Cossack which are interesting.
Yeah.
Is that when he was a novice, Connections was saying he loves really deep ground. But since last year, Andy, everybody's going, well, you're not going to see the best of this horse until he goes back on good ground again.
Yeah, which
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree, and there's a good chance we're going to get good to soft ground, come March for this race, and I'm a big fan of the horse as well. I mean, I agree. I think he probably would have won the King George. It looked like the Valtor was stopping. Q Card was probably just sort of plugging on at the same pace, and obviously caught the second there. But yeah, if he hadn't have fallen, he probably would have had enough time to sort of nab the first two. I think he was the one that was staying on the best out of those three.
Do you expect Vator to run in the Gold Cup, Andy, or the Ryanair?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, the fact that Willie Mullins has entered Valtor in the Ryanair a week or so ago sort of indicates that, for me, that they might go down that road.
But he's actually stated, hasn't he, the Gold Cup is still the target.
Yeah.
Now, it all depends on... See, can you believe everything that Willie Mullins says? Because I think he's almost dictated to by what Giggins Town actually say to him. Because they want to win their race, the Ryanair Chase.
Yeah.
So they want to have a runner in it. But is it going to be Vator? Is it going to be Road for Riches? But Mullins has come out only a couple of weeks ago and said, you know what? The Gold Cup still remains the target. Now, does that depend on the week of Cheltenham, what ground we get in the week? Is that going to be the deciding factor?
Well, I think so. I mean, for me personally, I just didn't think it stayed, in the King George, and then we've got another couple of furlongs to go here. We've got the Hill. I know it's one at Cheltenham and that, but the Ryanair looks sort of tailor-made for it. Yeah. For me, but I understand what you're saying. Ryanair, obviously they want to win it with their owned horses, the Giggins Town stud horses. But Richie's got the favourite here as well, isn't he? The Mullins horse. So it is a conundrum, and yes, we will know more in a sort of about 5 weeks or so. Which sort of road or which sort of horses are going to go for each of these races. But if I owned Valtor, I would be going for the Ryanair. If there was no politics behind it, and I'll win this race.
But there's more than the meets.
I know,
yeah.
But if it was me,
I don't think they'll run Vator against Jacodam. I don't think I've ever seen Rich Ritchie second colours where he has two big horses in a big race. I think they usually only have... I've seen it in handicaps and stuff, in grade ones and stuff, you only ever see one Rich Ritchie horse.
I mean, what would you do, Paul, if you owned it?
If I owned Vator, I'd run him in the Queen
Champion Chase.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got such a high cruising speed now, and I think if he sat on the tail of Undersow would fall. I think he'd
pressure would be
him into mistakes. Tell me about Q Card, boys. What's your view on Q Card, a horse that has been impressive this season in all his races, and his trainer puts it down to two things. One, he's in a new barn, new area, new feed, everything, and he's had a breathing operation. So when he was beaten out of sight by Don Cossack at Aintree last year, they think they had an excuse. Do those two things add up to him being a better horse this season?
I think definitely. I think you see when they change a feed, it makes a big difference. Like Rebecca Curtis, she was in terrible form at the start of the season. That was something to do with the feed and all that. Had different hay. They had this weird Canadian hay problem with quite a lot of the yards. Right. So I think that makes a massive difference actually. And Q Card is without a doubt a completely different horse this year. He's probably the best. Well, he's definitely the best he's ever been. I think. I just don't know if when he comes up against a proper stayer like Don Cossack or Don Poli, although I don't think Don Poli...
Two Dons.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit haunting, doesn't it? An Italian principle. Le Dons. Yeah.
But he definitely has a chance. I mean, I didn't think he'd had a chance in the King George, and you proved me wrong.
Oh, it's marvellous, wasn't it? But we go back to the beginning of this Gold Cup discussion, Andy. If we get ground similar to last year, this doesn't become a Speedsters Gold Cup. This becomes a Sloggers Gold Cup, which is the reason why Coney Gree won it last year. Many people thought on good ground Road to Riches might have beaten him on real good ground. But if it's a Sloggers Gold Cup, the strongest stayer in the lineup, without a shadow of a doubt, is going to be Don Poli, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, well, yes, but you know, the way that Don Cossack has been finishing its races as well, I think, you know, it's tailor made for that. You know, going back to Q Card, you know, I agree. I think that, you know, if they hadn't have won the King George, would they be going for the Gold Cup with the £1 million bonus up for grabs? They probably would have gone down the Ryanair route, you know, which is obviously won before. So, you know, you can't blame them. You know, if I own the horse, I'd be going for the big pot as well. But you know, I've mentioned the stat, the 10-year-old stat that it's got to overcome as well. 1998, remember, the last 10-year-old or older to win. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, there's other stayers in there as well. You know, you've got the Grand National winner, haven't you, in there? Many Clouds, 33 to 1. Sort of been just plugging away in the background this season, isn't it? So, you know, if you're looking for some outsiders, you know, it was 6 in the race last year, and then went on to win the Merseyside Marathon, didn't it? So, you know, some people might think that's a decent value if it is going to be turned into, you know, a bit of a slog as well. It's won at the track as well, isn't it, before?
Oh, so I'm going to ask you 2 questions now for your conclusion. I'm going to ask you for a soft ground conclusion, and I'm going to ask you for a good ground conclusion. So, Jake, on the 2 scenarios, on ground where there is at least a bit of dig, and on ground where it is genuinely a spring surface, what would you go for?
Okay. Spring surface, Don Cossack. Soft ground, probably still Don Cossack, or maybe Cheltenham.
Okay, Andy?
I'm totally with you, honestly, with this one. I think that, you know, Don Cossack, he's shown enough form on both for me, and I think that, you know, with the hill, with everything at the moment, I just think that, you know, if you can get around 6 to 1, then that, you know, I know that there's an element of fall, you know, he's fallen King George and what have you, but that is a good each way bet of anything in this race. I think Don Cossack for me. You know, Road to Riches, last year's 3rd. You know, some people might think that's decent value around 12 to 1 as well, just to sort of plug on. I don't think it will win, but I'm with JJ here.
Yeah.
Big Don Cossack.
I've got quite a big outsider as well that I think could run well. The forgotten horse Holywell at 33 to 1, who really definitely needs good ground.
Oh, without shame.
Absolutely definitely needs good ground. Ran a blinder 4th last year at Cheltenham on ground that was completely unsuitable.
Oh, hated it.
John Joe O'Neill hasn't been in great form this year, but he's usually peaks during the festival period. He's already won twice at the festival on good ground, and I think people have kind of forgotten about him. 33 to 1's a pretty big price. I mean, we thought all these novices were going to come through and just dominate proceedings completely, but obviously we've got Q Card, we've got what happened? Don Poli, who came second in that race again? In Ireland. Stayed on at the end.
Oh, don't ask me.
Anyway, he's not a novice, and I just think...
Oh, first lieutenant.
First lieutenant, yeah. And he just came... I know he's a really old horse, so I just think Holywell's 33 to 1 is a nice little each way play if you get good ground.
Well, I'm going to go for Don Purdy, whatever the ground, and I think people have forgotten about Sir Deschamps when he was second to Bobsworth in a pretty good Gold Cup. If he hadn't crossed swords with Long Run from such a long way out, I think he would have been closer, and he's the forgotten horse. But I think Don Purdy will win. Which completes our first Cheltenham video cast. Thank you for joining us for the 4 big championship races. Don't forget again about the Cheltenham app. It's up and running. Use it to your benefit. And tune in for our other video casts where we look at the novice chasers, novice hurdlers, and a bit of AOB, any other business, here at easyodds.com.
Okay.
Sorry guys, I need to turn my phone on.
Oh yeah.